Welcome to Uncorked and Unscripted, the podcast and video series that gives you VIP access to the unscripted stories of people I've met through events. In this episode of Uncorked and Unscripted, 3 members of the event company join me. That's right, Director of Event Operations Kali Trautman, Communications Manager Ariana, and Happiness Coordinator Kendra DeBoer are here to discuss what really goes on behind the scenes at our events and some of our top event moments over the last decade. Now uncork your favorite beverage to celebrate 11 years with us and listen up as we spend the next half hour unscripted. Hi there, welcome back to Uncorked and Unscripted. I'm your host, Addie Graham Kramer. Today joining us, we've got 3 members from our team. We've got Ariana Mount, our producer, who many of you have seen already on some past episodes. We've got Kali Trautman, our Director of Event Operations, and Kendra DeBoer, our Happiness Coordinator. Welcome, ladies, to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, mate.
Thank you. It's actually so exciting to do this. I've never been on a podcast before, so this is so fun.
Well, Kali's a pro, pretty much.
Yeah, that was like 5 years ago, though. So I feel like it's a whole new ballgame.
She's dusting off her podcasting boots, and she's ready.
This will be fun.
So, Ari, Kali actually used to be in your position doing podcast producing way back in the day when we did the last one. So we're excited to have everybody here today. So before we get started, we always talk about what I always ask, as you guys know, like who or what would be your favorite drink that would describe you, really. And for me, I wanted to celebrate because, as you can kind of see, we're not in our normal studio today. We're actually on site at the Lake House in Okoboji doing our retreat this week. And by the time this episode airs, we'll actually be close to celebrating our 11th anniversary. So we wanted to do just something fun and something different to celebrate. But what do we all love to toast with for celebrations?
Champagne.
We were going to make mimosas, but
yeah,
no orange juice.
We like it
no
neat.
orange juice.
No orange
Champagne
juice.
it is.
Champagne. So cheers. We're going to get started.
Cheers. Sorry, I took a little premature sip.
Me too.
We've had quite the morning. We deserve it.
That's okay. So we are going to just talk a little bit more about maybe some fun moments over the last 11 years. As some may say, like the good, the bad, and the funny. But really just talking about maybe some memorable moments, some uplifting moments, maybe some more challenging moments that we've had over the years, and then some really funny ones. So I want to talk through really to get your feedback, all of you, to kind of hear your perspective. Some of ours might intersect, I feel like. We might have some that are pretty close from that side. But because we've had over, my gosh, Kali, probably over 500 events now, I would say, over 500 over the last few years. It's been, I think, just really interesting to see where the company's gone, both from truly coast to coast, from all over the country. And some of those come with some pretty interesting moments. So when we talk about the unscripted piece, we already have the uncorked, right?
We're doing it today.
Now we're going to talk about more of the unscripted piece of things. So I'm going to start with you, Ari. Why don't you share with us maybe one of your most memorable moments over your time here? It can be event related. It can be team member related. It can be specific instances from events wise or media wise, either one of them. I want to hear maybe one of your most memorable moments.
I feel like there's so many. So I'm going on 2 years here at the event company. Gosh, we've had so many good moments. I think maybe one that sticks out to me most was the style show. So this would have been last spring that I attended and did some social media at the event. And I knew going into it that I was going to love it because I love fashion. I majored in fashion retailing in college. And so I've just always kind of loved that side of things. And this is a fashion show. But what's cool about this event, it's for a nonprofit in Sioux Falls called Rare by Design. And so they get models of all different kinds of backgrounds. Some have disabilities, some don't. So it's kind of just this great celebration for models of all kinds, diversity, sexuality, things like that. And so that was really cool to see some of the models, be represented, and normally they wouldn't be in a typical fashion show. But just seeing them walk down the runway, and I'm in the back, just picture it's like dark room. They have all this like stage and the spotlights, and they all get their hair and makeup done, and seeing there was this one girl who, it was actually so cool. She wasn't even supposed to be a model that day. All of the other ones kind of had some training and stuff. She was a fill-in last minute. I think she was one of the makeup artists, a family member of one of the makeup artists. And she came down the runway beaming, just so happy, so excited to be there.
So awesome.
Her hair and makeup was done, and just, I think she was a little bit nervous, but as soon as she saw the crowd and saw everyone clapping for her, she was just so happy and just immediately like got into like that model like character, was like posing, like doing all the things. And I almost started crying in the back because I'm like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for this girl. She feels on top of the world right now. She's in clothes that make her feel beautiful. She has her hair and makeup done. She just, you know, all these people are clapping for her, and it just gave me chills. And it's just something that I will never forget. Sometimes I go back and look at those socials that I took, and it was just like one of the best feelings ever, knowing that like she was just felt so empowerful in that moment, and giving power to people who normally maybe wouldn't have it or be in that position was just something that I never take for granted. And it still gives me chills to this day to think about. So I think that event's really special. I didn't go this year, which I'm kind of sad about, but it's just, if you live in the Sioux Falls area and are able to go to that event, it is just really one that's really special to me.
We've done obviously plenty of events, and we've gotten to be a part of a lot of really cool experiences. And you walk into some rooms, and you're like, wow, this feels different. But there's something about that room, about like the supportiveness of the individuals who attend.
Yes.
And like you just walk in, like you feel like you're like getting a hug. And that's probably how a lot of the models feel, because it's just the most supportive environment that you could like be in.
Yeah. And it also kind of feels like you're at New York Fashion Week, but you're in a hotel ballroom in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So I think the like marrying of that is really special too. And we do a lot of events in that space, but like you said, it looks completely different than any other event that we do in that space. So it's just really special.
And I think the founder, Kendra Gottslepen of Rare by Design, like she is a badass though. And she has tried to push that envelope for years, right? She actually walked in New York Fashion Week years ago wearing Tommy Hilfiger. So it's fun to be able to see her personality integrated into that event. But she just wants a voice, right? And that's what I think is so empowering about this event. And it's just, you're absolutely right, Kali, when you walk in that room, like I actually have goosebumps now thinking of it, because it's so empowering. It's like everybody is such a badass in that room, whether you're in the audience, whether you're on the runway, whatever it looks like there's so much really awesome energy and vibe in there. And it's not a cry event at all. It's more of a
empowering.
Just so empowering
in the back.
I know.
I cry at everything. Though.
I know. I do too.
It's awesome. But what about you, Kendra?
Me?
Yeah. Tell us what about your like most memorable moments.
Gosh, there's just so many to choose from. Truly, I think something special about us is that we just become so passionate about like the causes.
Agree.
For the events that we're planning and stuff like that. But I think one that sticks out to me is the first inaugural. Is that how you say it? Earn the Gift Gala for the Ty Eschenbaum Foundation. Yeah. It was in Brookings. We didn't really know how much money we were going to raise for the foundation. We tried a paddle raise, and that ended up like being so amazing and raised so much money. And we were like, what is going on? This is amazing. The program was so impactful. So many people just give money without getting something in return, like an auction item or something like that. But I just remember after the event, after everything was cleaned up, we were all packed up, ready to go home, back to Sioux Falls. I was riding with the event lead, Allie, and we both just sat there in the car, and then we just did a little squeal. Like, we were just like, that was so good. Like, that was just so impactful. I think I cried, Ari, like multiple times during that.
Lots of tears.
So awesome.
Yes. Yeah. So that one sticks out to me. Another one, just very quickly, we did an event in a small town, South Dakota, Platte, and raising money for a daycare there. And that one also is so memorable to me because I'm also from a small town. And to see a small town come together as a community, raise money for this daycare, it was just so cool. I'm like, wow, small towns can do this too. You know what I mean? So that was also very memorable to me. It was very fun. Yeah.
And I think what's cool about the Earn the Gift, going back to that one. So for those who don't know, that foundation, the Tayash Mom Foundation, raises money for Make-A-Wish wishes, cancer survivor scholarships for college, and then missionary work. So kind of like knowing all of those pieces and being in a room of people, and we feel this at a lot of our events, who are gathered, whether it's a few hundred or a few thousand even, who are all gathered for like the same purpose. And they're really there to make a difference. Really just puts that energy in the room. And I think that's the squeal and the tears that come after it, because you get out of there and you're like, oh my gosh, our team just did that. But like everyone, the sponsors, the foundation, the board of directors, whoever, everyone plays a part in, you know, that final number if it's a fundraising event. And it's just something that's so cool.
Yeah, it happens really in the span of minutes. Yeah. When you think about it, I think that's what times hits us at the end is like, wow, that just happened in the span of minutes. You plan for 8 months and it all just happens in the span of singular minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
What about you, Cal?
Well, I'm gonna say something maybe a little bit different because we're doing this kind of in the honor of our 11th birthday. But I think one of the key highlights is our 10th birthday last year.
That's good. Yeah.
I think while it's a little bit different, all of our events are so very impactful and they will always have a place in all of our hearts.
Yeah.
I think something special about our company, though, is that we also just care so deeply about our company and our team members. Yeah. And so Addie and I think, had a great time last year getting to plan a ton of surprises for the team.
It was so fun, so special.
You guys were like Taylor Swift with the Easter eggs. It was like,
I tried.
So
that was
all secret.
All fitting. Everyone can remember from a year ago last year. It was the middle of the Eras tour. It was very much a thing. We have a lot of team members, myself included, who are big fans. And so we did a lot of little teeny surprises throughout leading up to it to kind of help announce it. But we did a scavenger hunt that we wrote all the clues for ourselves to kind of lead us along the day. People arrived. We did a fun little red carpet.
So fun.
That was so
with mimosas that we welcome people in. We did special, like a little bouquet of flowers at each person's desk that fit their kind of like vibe or colors or their personality. We gave them a little personalized blanket. And then we had a day of like, took some photos. We had brunch, which we all love. We went to see the Taylor Swift movie. We ended the day with cake. Kind of the most like fitting
cake and tears.
The event company day we could have done.
Wait, you left out one of the most memorable parts.
What was that?
The Wienermobile.
The Wienermobile. We both said it at the same time. Wienermobile.
The Oscar Mayer Wienermobile was in
happened to be on Phillips Avenue.
And we got a private tour inside the Wiener. It was great.
We all got Wiener whistles.
Wiener whistles. Yeah, that was it. I think I still have mine at my desk.
I think we just crossed over into the rated R thing when we talked about Wiener whistles here. I'm not for sure.
Uncorked, unscripted.
It's fun.
One of my probably most memorable really was, and probably most uplifting, was this summer and then last summer. So we've had the opportunity to work with an organization that brings together so many thousands of teachers, actually a little over 15 or 1,800 educators from across the state to further their education in civics and history, and new teachers being mentored by other teachers. And talk about an uplifting event. I am passionate about public education. I grew up in a public education school system. And for me to be able to see the impact that these educators are having on our kids is incredible. But when they're all together learning and unifying all of them together too, there's just such a cool energy. And furthermore, I feel like sometimes our educators don't get the best, I don't want to say not best treatment, because that's not what I mean, but more of
they don't get the credit they deserve.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. And so like they are truly pampered from so many different elements, from getting fun swag, getting to pick out different things for their classroom, whether it's Post-its or pens or notebooks or whatever. But being able to take what they're learning that week and integrating it back into their classroom is so incredible. Now, this last year, we actually just did a road trip with them, traveled over 1,500 miles across the state between 3 different routes and visiting different landmarks and learning about what our state has to offer. They are now bringing those pieces back into the school system as well and into their classrooms. So it's a cool really thing. Cool. And it's the fun part is like, they felt like they were celebrities and being treated so incredibly well throughout the week, from great food to entertainment to, I mean, truly all the elements were planned out for them. And I don't think we give them enough credit. No. And your mom is an educator.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean,
it
means just so much in so many different ways. Kali, your dad was an educator for many years as well.
And they were just so thankful. And it just like, it made everything so worth it. Like it was so fulfilling.
Agree.
I don't know if this happened at yours, but at our road trip, people were crying at the end. I started crying again. Everyone was just, I mean, someone stood up and just wanted to thank the team there, the staff, for everything that they've done. And I mean, it was kind of emotional, and it was really cool to see too. They were just, really awesome. Again, so thankful for that week.
Agree.
Those are some good ones.
So those are the good ones. We are about halfway through filming already. So we've talked about so many fun things already, but I want to talk quickly. I know, in this fly, maybe he's the
Maybe it's trying to get a sip of your champagne.
We should get a credit.
Sorry to all the watchers.
We should name him.
Yeah, we should name him and give him a credit.
Freddie the Fly.
Freddie the Fly.
I like it.
We all just said Freddie at the same time.
That's creepy.
It's just
Freddie the Fly gets no champagne here. His name. Oh, see, here he is.
Freddie the Fly quit.
He's been hanging out all weekend.
Okay, so I want to talk briefly here about maybe some of the most challenging moments over the last 10 years. I think so many times people do not see what all goes into events behind the scenes. All that they can see is they walk in, the programs are set, they all get good food, there's entertainment, there's whatever that comes in with the red carpet's out. They don't see all the other pieces. Now, for us, we are planning months for these events.
A year, maybe.
A year plus, and some of them weeks. But for the most part, we spend so much time planning. So for us, the day of or pre-event pieces, there can be some chaos that ensues, I think, at events that some people don't realize, or there's certain elements of they think, wow, it was just flawlessly executed. But from our side of things, it's like,
somebody has to do it.
So, Kali, I'm going to start with you this time. I want to know maybe one of your most challenging, or really, I don't say bad moment, but just more challenging or interesting behind the scenes where, maybe from your perspective.
You probably had a lot.
What that was.
Had a few. I think for me, I tie it to it as sometimes it's some of the most meticulous detail elements that probably could also be listed as some of the most successful, or the events that you think of or the moments you think of. You're like, wow, that was so great. But you probably also think of that because it's so fulfilling, because you had to put in such
like you go in wondering if you're going to be able to
pull it off. And then you do, and you're like, this is great. But you also we can remember what work it took to get to it. So one of those moments I think of is back in 2019, we worked with the Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce on their YPN Crossroads Summit. And it's been a great event to see its growth over the years. But our first year that we were a part of it back in 2019, we were with the planning group that was a part of it or had been selected for it. And they said, we want to do this cool impact moment. And they're like, why don't we just shoot for the sky? Like, let's try to break a Guinness World Record.
Casual.
And we're like, okay.
Who does that?
And we kind of said like, well, we have to be honest. We've never done that before, but
very transparent that we haven't done.
And I don't think most people have.
No, most people haven't. But we said we have like a runway. Let's we have a good amount of time. Let's see what we can do. So we start digging through the process, and the timeline they gave us, we're like, okay, we have that amount of time. And so we found one that fit with that's probably one of the harder parts about it is finding one within your like guest count. So many of them now are 10,000 people. Like we had
like finding a record to break.
We had 400 and some. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So finding something that's small enough for us at that time. And so we found one that worked. That was the most people opening a fortune cookie simultaneously. And so we went through the process of, we had custom fortune cookies made, and we had a custom inside, because everyone had to read it simultaneously at the same time. And so we did that. We did had to practice all that timing. But where we got to the end of it was that, well, first of all, I should also preface that their timeline for communication is they only will respond to you like every 2 weeks. So if you have one question from Guinness, like you're only going to get a response every like 2 weeks or so. And so, but we get to the end and we're starting to go through some of the timing, and all of a sudden we're figuring out the requirements that they have for the volunteer or the like approval is actually quite daunting, of where it's like every 50 people, we had to quadrant off the room. We had to have like watchers and everything. We had to people giving tickets at the door to be able to count. We had to have all these different ways to basically validate without having someone from Guinness there saying that we were doing it. And then we had to get video coverage of not only the room, but then like the room of us counting the tickets to count how many people did it. And we had people to sign their life away. Like the process of that was crazy. And then it still took us a year after the event to get it officially approved and for them to send the plaque.
Wow.
But we did do it. We did do it. But the amount of work it took was crazy just to do something. I'll say, again, it's not simple. Again, it took singular minutes to cross it off the list. But the amount of planning or details it took to get it across the finish line was a little daunting at the time, but so fulfilling to get it done with.
Yeah.
And you did such a great job. I mean, that was all really led and spearheaded by you, Kali. So kudos to you.
Good job,
that perspective.
Kali.
But you're absolutely right. I think with having 50 plus volunteers being filmed, like Kali's saying, not just outside in the room itself, but truly, you know, like in our workroom, I mean, they were having to film just to make sure that we were being legitimate about the counting of the tickets. And there's just so many elements that were involved that I think people think, oh, we just opened up some fortune cookies. As a guest perspective, that's all they did, right? They just opened up fortune cookies and that was it. We beat the record.
They didn't see Kali measuring the room into quadrants.
Quadrants and all.
Pulling out her algebra.
It was color-coded.
That's crazy.
Well, we might not be able to hear from everybody all their favorite moments today, but I want to hear yours, Ari, because you see things in such a different perspective and maybe a different lens than we do at events, because you are in the communication side, the creative side, the PR side of things. What sticks out to you as maybe one of, like, from a daunting perspective or just a challenging moment that you've had at the events over the years?
I think one of the biggest events that we have, I guess, in terms of guest count, but also in terms of my side of things with the media and social media and all the creative pieces, would be the Primetime Gala with the South Dakota Cattlemen's Foundation, which is always around my birthday each year, which is kind of fun. But last year, 2023, that being my first year at that event and just it being so much bigger than any other event that I'd worked for the event company, I would say the bad part of it was just, I would say, lessons learned. You know, there's just so many kind of balls to juggle at one time. And so trying to like coordinate the photographers, because there's so many pieces that they have to get photographs, not only in the room at the gala, but also there's a concert after. So going across the hall and getting the opener, the opening acts, and then the main act, but then also there's scholarship winners and this other cattle challenge winners and getting their professional headshots taken. So there's a lot of coordinating other people in addition to me trying to coordinate media interviews with reporters that are there, taking social content, and then kind of managing the backstage meet and greets with the singers, and then going on Facebook and Instagram Live for the check presentation before the concert. So lots of kind of things to juggle all at once. And I think getting the timeline of all of that was a challenge in the first year. And then this year, you know, the daunting piece of it was like, okay, I need to be like on it this year, making sure that everyone's where they're supposed to be. No one was going to be missing anything. Like, you know, I had my checklist, everything. The reporter was 5 minutes late. I'm like, where are you?
Again, we're packing everything.
I was not messing around because I was on such a strict timeline of everything that needed to happen.
Like within like an hour.
Yes. It all happened so fast. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think it's not bad, but I think it is daunting, like you said. And I think anytime there's any kind of mess up at events, a lot of times the audience, the guest doesn't know. But I think from our team's perspective, it's just a learning piece. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, but it's our job to make it kind of look that way with the guest perspective. So I think those are the daunting pieces, is that events, because they're so just so touch and go, you have to be able to pivot at any given moment. I think that's something that I've learned in this role. But it kind of makes it fun too. Not every day is a little bit different. So that's kind of the fun side of it.
And then from your side too, you also are trying to meet a PR deadline with media to get it on the 10 o'clock news.
How could I forget? Yeah.
So then I sometimes Kali are back there with Pinnacle Productions trying to edit photos, get them pushed over, right angle, right whatever, so they can hit the 10 o'clock news. So there is all these elements. And this year, for example, like we didn't even do the check presentation until 9:35 p.m.
So then the photographers were racing back to edit the photo and sent it in the cloud.
Sent it in the cloud.
Because they have that check presentation photo on stage that I like have my email to the reporters typed up that I'm like ready to hit send, like drop the photo in. We have the check number that we just got, plug that into the press release. Like it is so like precise on time. Like you literally I couldn't go to the bathroom really quick. Like
story of our lives.
Yeah. I think Kali and I tried to sit down to eat like 3 times and then something happened.
Yeah.
So
it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's always interesting, but okay. What about funny moments?
Ooh.
Kendra, I'm going to start with you for maybe a funny moment over the last.
Well, speaking of Primetime Gala, that's my funny moment, I think.
Oh.
It was actually us 4. We got to go to the meet and greet.
Dream team.
And we went to the meet and greet with the board members and whatever. We got to meet Parker McCollum, which I was just actually so
highlight
excited
of like
about.
my life, honestly.
Highlight of my life. Anyways, we're
picture.
in our black.
Insert
picture of Parker McCollum.
We always wear black like gala dresses. He literally told us all, he's like, "You all look great." And I didn't even think, it just came out of my mouth. I'm like, "You look better." And
but like he's so much taller than you, and you're just like, "No, you look even better."
Yeah, I did.
And then he's like, "Let's
he
take this
did
picture quick."
Get out.
He's like, "Security."
I thought about that all night. Like it honestly gave me the ick all night that I like
even
said
remember this at all. Where was I? I think I was first though to go in, right? And I said, "Welcome to like whatever South Dakota. Like this is our event, blah blah blah, or whatever."
Like, and you guys all look so great.
I remember him saying that.
You look better.
I do not.
Like without skipping a beat, Kendra's like, "No, you look better."
Yeah.
Me and Kali are like, "Did that just happen?"
Yeah, I know. It was just so gross. Like, why did I say that? But it's kind of funny. And I got to talk to Parker McCollum, and
so he never said anything afterwards.
No, he just
like,
took
no.
I think the photographer was like, "Okay, 3, 2."
I will say that I told him congratulations on his future baby, and he liked that comment.
Yeah,
he was like, "Thank you."
So that's Kendra, kind of a funny moment. I know.
Get me on stage.
Yeah,
that's so
funny.
What
about you, Addie?
Oh, I don't know if this is funny or if it is. I don't know what it is, but so a few years back with an event that we going to say, I don't know. We had the event Dancing with the Sioux Falls Stars, and at this venue, we ran out of one of the meal entrees. So it was like stations of hors d'oeuvres, heavy hors d'oeuvres, no dinner, but heavy hors d'oeuvres, right? So I am in a Badgley Mishka long sequined gold gown, beautiful. Bougie. And I remember, it was bougie. I remember like we were out of chicken, and I went back, and I know of all things chicken, whatever. I went back into the kitchen area and I said, "Oh, we're out." And they're like, "Nope, that's what you ordered." I said, "Nope, it's not either." And the menu, so it's funny, but not funny, but the menu specifically said when we ordered that it was 3 pieces per person. Well, they said, no, it wasn't. It was 1 per person. Well, I won, basically. I won. But I think the funny part is I'm literally tiptoeing in there, high heels, Badgley Mishka gown, back open, talking about chicken, like, where's my chicken? And trying to tell like the chef and the wait staff, like this is not right. And I think in our role, we will stick up for the client, but we'll also admit when we are wrong and when we are at fault, right? But when I'm running in there in a Badgley Mishka dress in the back of the kitchen trying to say, where's the chicken? That to me is a little bit of a funny, sassy moment. But I think you had to just be in there because I'm like literally holding up the gown so I don't slip in the kitchen, you know? But it was, for me, I don't know if that's funny or if it's funny. Just different, but.
It's funny to picture you like in your
just the dress,
bougie dress
shimmied up.
The sequins.
Sassy about chicken. Sassy about chicken. But Cal, what about you? Funny moment?
Well, I mean, in some sense, Addie, one of your favorite lines is always like, "Oh, we'll try anything that's as long as it's not like breaking a law, basically."
As long as it's legal. I say, as long as it's legal, we'll try it.
Yep.
I like that motto.
And we will pretty much do anything, especially if it's going to help us raise more money. Like, we'll try to figure out any way possible to figure out to raise the most money we possibly can. And there was one event a couple summers ago that was a golf tournament. It was the first year. And it was a client came to us, wanted to raise funds. And it ended up being, the benefactor ended up being one of our other clients that we were able to connect them with, that they felt a cause or like a passion for their cause. And so it was a golf tournament called Driving for Diabetes. And we get to the end of the golf tournament, and obviously quite a few people had maybe a couple of drinks. It was a beautiful summer day. Couple. And one of the committee members, though, agreed to like kind of be the MC. He's a great guy, funny guy. But one of his, I would say friends probably, we were getting to the point, kind of like Kendra mentioned the paddleways, we were getting to the point where we were asking for donations, and he kind of did his plea. And one of his friends was like, well, I'll give you $5,000 if you take your pants off.
Like yelled that from the audience?
Yep, from the audience. Like,
oh my gosh.
And he was kind of like, and then someone else is like, well, I'll also do 5 if you do that. And so before you know it, he kind of looks at us and we're like, kid never had this happen, don't know what to do. And before you know it, he just like dropped his pants, he still had his boxers, like all that.
He had ass, is he wearing underwear?
Yep, he was.
Yep,
but did drop them, got $2,000, then some extra. All for the cause.
So it
was worth it. And he did the rest of the program with his pants and his ankles.
Yeah. Are there pictures of this?
Oh, okay. No, hold on. I might actually, I don't think there were pictures, but I might have a video of it. But I do clearly remember one of our team members was there like running the laptop and running the PowerPoint presentation. And I remember her saying like, cause he didn't just like take his pants off. He like put his one leg up on like a chair to be like, hey, ladies, you know what I mean?
Stop.
And so
imagine the iMag is like,
but here's what I'm saying though, is we had one of our team members like running the laptop, and she's like, all of a sudden his like leg was right there. Like it was all right there because it's obviously level to when you're typing, when you're right there. So she's like, I just look up and it's right there.
So funny.
And he's fully clothed. I just want to preface that for sure. But I think it's just always just really interesting to see what happens, and all for the kids, all for the money, all for the money.
What was everyone else in the audience? Were they just like
they were cheering? Oh my gosh, they
like
were
loving everybody. Like I said, once he did it, and like those first 2 people with their like commitments came in, then it just started flooding in. I mean, the amount of money, it was great.
I feel like the golf tournament's the perfect like event for that, because a lot of people are like there to party and stuff. Like imagine doing that at like a gala and like everyone's in tuxes. Like people would be like,
no, it definitely fit, but it wasn't very memorable. Funny. Like I remember walking out being like, yeah, we're gonna remember this one, aren't we?
So funny.
One for the books. One for the books.
For sure.
Ari, what about you? Do you have a funny moment before we wrap here today? Do you have anything funny PR or event related over the last couple years?
I have one. I don't know if it's funny or just like completely rated R. But it also has to do with someone having their pants down.
What is with those two? We don't have.
I know. We're the clean. We're PG.
Wow, PG down here.
Okay. So we had an event. I won't say names or anything. All I know is there was a staff member like from the venue who was like running around. Like there's a separate room. There's a separate room that we had used like earlier in the day, but we weren't using it at the moment. Yes. So like catering staff was using it for whatever, cleanup, stuff like that. Well, apparently like some catering staff had gone into this room that was supposed to be just for them. And there were still some tables in there from earlier in the day. And there was a scurry when they opened the door. No one really knows exactly what happened, but you know that phrase? It's like, oh, I got caught with my pants down, and it's supposed to be like figuratively. Someone literally got caught with their pants down. There were 2 people there, and you can just imagine what was happening under a table at this event.
Oh my word!
That we had to hear about at one of our events. Yes, grown-ups. So,
oh my gosh,
grown-ups,
rated R,
grown-ups getting it on at an event, and this was actually a really nice conference, I will tell you. But the audience members.
I wasn't going to say it was a conference.
You're not doing it at a gala. Well, I mean, you could be at a gala, but this conference though is of like they like to have fun. Yeah. I'll just leave it at that. I think they work incredibly hard.
Yeah,
like they're such an incredible industry, and they work so very hard and very. What are you laughing at? Very personable industry. And that
I think she's laughing because like you're working so hard not to say
it's okay,
which is funny. Yeah,
it happens. Actually, I don't even think our client even knew that it happened.
I think we tried to
I think
keep
it was
that
just between like the venue staff and us.
Yeah. So it's our deepest, darkest secret.
Oh my God.
Exposed. Literally.
Today on Uncorked and Unscripted. Well, we've got 11 years we're celebrating here later on this month. So we're super excited. And I know we'll probably do some fun little party internally. I don't know what that's going to look like, but stay tuned on socials for what that looks like. As Kali kind of mentioned, we love to celebrate our team members, our community, what we do. Last year was such a big year for us at 10. So we'll probably not go all out like that, but I think we'll have something fun inside. We'll see what that looks like from the Social Society planning group. But for those that are tuning in, be sure to check back every other Thursday for a new drop of the episode. You can find us on Apple Podcast. You can find us on Spotify or YouTube. So thanks for joining us, Kendra. Thanks, Ari. Thanks, Kali. So fun.
So fun.
And
Cheers.
now we're going to get to retreating. Do you have any? Oh, Kendra's gone.
I know. You guys.
My gosh.
I'm sorry. I just take
we need to catch up
here and there.
The happiness coordinator is extra happy today.
Extra happy.
So cheers, everybody.
I love it.
Cheers
to 11 years.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Uncorked and Unscripted. Make sure to follow and rate this podcast wherever you're watching or listening. Stay connected with us by following us on social media at Uncorked Unscripted on Instagram and Facebook, and at Uncork Unscript on Twitter and TikTok. And if you really enjoyed this episode, do us a huge favor and send it to a friend. See you soon. Bye.